cannot have more than one shot on target against Slovakia, how on earth are we going to even create anything against a big side?
I remember one of them was in extra time, and our first shot on goal was 95 minutes into the game.
I would just rest Bellingham, personally, just to give him a rest. And maybe let the team not have to keep looking for him all.
England 2, Slovakia 1. Quite possibly the biggest robbery in football history. Today we're going through the lot. Did we deserve it? How were we so bad? And ultimately, is there any hope moving forward? So let's start with a real question. Yes, Jamie, we were at the pub. There was absolute limbs for that Bellingham overhead kick. But let's talk about how this game played out, because my word, was it bad. Talk to me. What was your thoughts on the game?
Honestly, it was... It's so hard to describe because there was just nothing. There was no... It looked like there was no game plan. It looked like, let's have the ball and let's do nothing with it. There was no... It just seemed to be a lack of forward passing. And then anytime there was a forward pass, it was sort of a player was under pressure, so they just went back. Every time that ball went into Foden, went into Saka, went into Kane, and even Bellingham at times, ball went to them, and there was no option to play. So it was... You got to slightly give credit to Slovakia for the way they set up to do that, but from an English perspective, it's so poor, and it's almost just like basic game management, and they just didn't have any ideas what to do. The fact that their goal came, from a well-worked sort of goal, but it should have been avoided before that. There was a ball that was up in the air, and it just wasn't properly won. So the fact that we're also conceding to a team that sort of, struggled in this tournament so far is very worrying, because defensively, that's something we were sort of, trying to take a glimpse of. Oh, we've done well defensively, but actually they got through a few times. And if that was an Mbappe for France, or sort of other good strikers that could do that, we'd be in serious trouble. And we could have been 2-0 down at least in the first half.
Yeah, I think that's one point actually around the defensive stats. Let me just read a couple off quickly. So this is before Slovakia game yesterday, but for England at the Euros so far, goals conceded ranked second. Shots faced fourth, opposition touches in the own box ranked fourth, and expected goals against, we were ranked first in the whole competition. So although we've been negative, we have been terrible, there was some promising stats to actually back up that we, defensively been one of the best sides in the tournament, which was a bit of a silver lining. And then yesterday, it was like that all went to crap because we couldn't defend. We were so open. And obviously, yes, they got their goal, but, Haraslin, I said, their left winger looked good. He got in a few times. So it could have been worse. Reece, how did you see this, particularly in the first half? Why did we lose control of the game so easily?
It's a good question. I mean, you look at it overall, as someone who thought it'd be quite a comfortable result for us, I was left feeling very relieved and a little bit frustrated, because I thought, one, Slovakia were very organised. I think that's what we found hard to break down. I think a lot of teams would find that hard to break down. But with the quality we have, we shouldn't have been in the situation we were in. The stats do sort of tell the story, really. Even though we had 16 shots, they still had 13. We had 2 on target out of those 16, which is very, very poor. And they had 3. I thought the defending was poor for the first goal. I really thought it was poor. And we should have done better. And we also had that heart in mouth moment where Stones didn't pay attention and he almost whacked it in for about 40 yards. So I think the performance come down to a bit of, just lack of concentration. But I think overall tiredness. I'm not using that as an excuse, but I've said from the start that players are very tired. This isn't just the England team. This is, teams across the board. But we are very lethargic and we're very injury prone right now. Southgate has to try and protect what he has. He can't afford to lose any more players at the back in particular, or we could be in serious trouble. So it's really not that doom and gloom, in all honesty. We got through. And Bellingham in this competition has come up with 2 moments that have ultimately gone on to get us the result. It has been poor, but I do think we're tired, and I don't think we need to be using all our energy in these games. If we were playing France in this round,
1 minute. We were 1 minute from going out to Slovakia yesterday, so we can blame energy all we want, but every team has suffered from that.
Yeah, but it's to go and win tournaments. You don't need to win every game 4-0. People forget that we had an easy run at the 2018 World Cup. People forget that the teams we played in the last Euros, the bigger teams were in transition. Spain, Italy, Germany. You know, Italy, yes, went on to win the tournament. They've been poor ever since. This is out where we have peaked and these teams have started to get better, and other teams around the continent have got better. Yes, it was poor, and we can't really use that tiredness excuse. But like I said, you can't go out and win every game 4-0. People forget Man United's treble winning team. You know, it took a lot of late goals to win them trophies. Why? Because they had the mentality to do it. We still went for it. You know, it didn't look like we were out of the game, you know, even till the very death. So we have to give credit there. It's luck. You can't ride on that though forever.
I disagree there, Reece. I think we didn't show anything. You got to remember, we had 2 shots on target. That were both of the goals. You got to remember, one of them was in extra time, and our first shot on goal was 95 minutes into the game. That's not acceptable. You've got to remember, it wasn't even like we had a long shot that went to the goalie. You can't be playing against teams like this. I don't care how tired you are. You should still be doing better than what we're performing at. Because it's not like this is just one game. It's all 4 games. None of them have been very good. We had a good 30 minutes against Serbia, and I don't think we've actually played well since. So that's where it looks that's the most worrying, I'd say. Because yes, Slovakia can score while you're playing well. Teams score, like you said, Reece, like big teams who win stuff still have to score late goals to win things, but they also look like scoring before that, and they play against better opposition. It's hard to sort of like comprehend the sort of club football to international football, but it's the sort of late goals that United scored. You know, they were against big teams. The Bayern Munich in the final is a prime example. If we do that against France, then you can't complain as much because we're against a good side. But Slovakia aren't that good. You got to remember, they beat Belgium by doing nearly exactly what they did against us, scoring a goal and then defending for their lives. But at least Belgium looked like scoring. They drew with Romania, and I think they didn't look that great in that game, and they lost to Ukraine.
Ukraine are out of the competition, and Ukraine beat this side. Yes, 2-1, but they look good while doing it. Like, that's the level we're competing with. And Belgium
meant to be favourites for the tournament.
That's what I'm saying. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
I know we've all said that we don't think we're favourites, but you're looking at the side of the draw, and that should give you a boost. I'm looking at the toughest sides in the draw are Switzerland, Austria, Netherlands. You take that all day long. You got to go. We've got we've got a perfect opportunity to get to the final. It's technically even easier than the last Euros when we lost in the final.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. And look, I won't disagree that the 4 games we've played have not been outstanding performances. People say they're boring, whatever, but as long as you win games, it doesn't matter. Yes, we haven't won all those games. I get that. You know, and fans can say they want entertainment, whatever, but entertaining doesn't win you success. We were entertaining in the last couple of tournaments and we didn't win anything. So forget that entertainment rubbish. Like, you know, as long as you win games, I do not care. But yes, it was pretty lackluster. And let's be honest, 9 out of 10 times a player attempts that overhead kick, they miss it. You know, and I think that does mask a very poor performance from Bellingham yet again, who I know me and Jamie have had our opinions on him in that regard. But he's also a reason why we need these players in this team. They come up with those clutch moments. Kai Havertz comes up with those clutch moments. You know, City have had players do it over the years. Chelsea have had players do it over the years. Get you out of that that situation. And yes, if we perform like this, you do come unstuck. But I think the way I saw us play to get the second goal was how I expected us to play. More of a, Gasian press, whatever you want to call it, style. That works against Slovakia. That works against Serbia. That works against Slovenia. The way we're trying to play at the moment works better against France. It works better against Netherlands, those more tactical approaches. So I'm a bit surprised he's sticking with it until then, but I suppose he's got to stick with it in order for them to start gelling. It doesn't work overnight. He doesn't work with these players, every single day. So I have to give him his dues there.
The problem is when we get onto bigger sides is if we can't create chances against Slovakia, and let's get into a more tactical breakdown here, and we can talk about some of the players and positions. But if we cannot have more than one shot on target against Slovakia, how on earth are we going to even create anything against a big side? That has to be the concern here.
But I think we will create chances against them, because I think the French will probably play very similar. I think Netherlands will probably play very similar. It's very hard to put Austria in that bracket right now. I don't know what we're going to get with them if we meet them. And it's the same with the Swiss. I think we should beat them, but I'm not sure how our style of play is going to work there. But yeah, we will create chances against those big guns. But the problem is playing conservative now. Is that too much of a risk? I don't know. I personally think this is where we should start kicking it up a gear, even if it was Slovakia. And I didn't see that. But us winning, getting the result late on, was a positive sign to take that we can get it if we need it. That's where I will give the benefits in terms of these sorts of tactical approaches.
Well, let's talk subs. So let's have a quick look at the subs. So obviously Palmer came on. Which was the big one people were pushing for. We actually had pure banter moment from Southgate all week after obviously Ian Wright's comments saying Saka would be relegated to left back to bring Palmer on. Again, to the genuine surprise of everyone, he actually went and did it. And he actually put Saka back to left wing back. How do we've got to talk about this. How do you even analyse that? Because we all said there's no chance in hell we'd actually do that. Ian Wright lost his head. And Arsenal fans, everyone was in disbelief, but Arsenal fans, that's a bit of an L.
I actually think it was Southgate's most attacking sub. It was his most attacking sub because he's actually put an actual sort of like a player who can take on players on the left side. Like Trippier is doing his best. I don't think Trippier's having bad games. He's out of his actual preferred position, and he's also we're trying to work with getting Foden into the middle. So that leaves like Trippier by himself on the left wing, which isn't seeming to work. So actually putting Saka there actually was, like I said, I think it's the most attacking sub Southgate has ever made. And I'm not even and I think it's more attacking than when he put Tony on. Because I just think it gave us something a bit different. So yes, it can work, but he can't play as an actual left back. But it gives the quality of, can he play left wing if we're that forward?
To me, he had no choice but to play him there. Look, Saka played as a left back, left wing back when he first broke into the Arsenal side. And he can play there. He had no choice. At the moment, Luke Shaw and Trippier are about as strong as poppadoms right now. They're going to break. And we can't afford to lose them in the latter stages. We can afford to rest them now. So Saka is a pretty smart move, and I do think it helps widen up the space on the pitch a little bit. Tony did okay when he came on. I think the big influence for me was Gallagher. The pressing was outstanding from him, and I think I'd like to see more of him if we're going to play maybe the same approach again. But I think it was a logical move to make. One, because he had no choice. There was no one else that could perhaps play there. Cole Palmer couldn't do it. Foden couldn't do it.
Blame Southgate for that. Because he chose to take an injured left back, and the backup to that injured left back is a right back in Trippier. So that's where I think you've got to look at Southgate, because you could have taken Chilwell. Okay, Chilwell's not had a great season. You could have taken Mitchell. I know it's another Crystal Palace player, but At least it's a left back.
Well, this is it. This is where I don't think Southgate can
That's
win.
What was that,
Foden
Joe?
sorry, with Chilwell, with Mitchell, one, they're left-footed, two, they can get forward, and three, you then don't mind Foden coming inside if he's on the left, because Chilwell, yes, again, we know he's not had a great season, but him bombing, doing those runs, especially if we've got two CDMs, you can actually allow him to do those runs. He can overlap Foden. Foden can cut inside. But Trippier and Foden at the minute, it's just such a weak left side because every single time they're cutting in, passing sideways, and we're not going. Like, it's a 37-year-old right back yesterday. And I know I think he got booked in the end, but he didn't have to do anything for like 80 minutes of the game. It's just not good enough.
But just two things for me. First of all, this is where Southgate can't win. Like, we all moaned at him for taking the likes of Rashford or Grealish or Maguire when they're not performing. So he goes on players that have performed and it's still not good enough. Yes, he should have looked at the thing and said, okay, well, third in the rankings, best performer is Chilwell or Mitchell. I have to take them. That's fine. He can do that approach. I think that's what he should have done. So, yeah, look, whatever it is, he can't win. You know, I do feel for him in some ways, even though I've never believed he was going to achieve anything with England, and I didn't believe the hype around this team. I still think he is being a bit harshly treated. But he also doesn't help himself by saying, you know, I'm not sure where all this reaction has come from, so to speak. It's like, but you caused this positive momentum with your performances, and you haven't stepped it up the next level. So he does have to take the criticism. My big question is does he have too much at his disposal? This is, you know, he's got too much quality. He's got Foden's, Palmer's, you know, he's got absolute embarrassment of riches, which we know when that is the case, never works. PSG have fallen victim to it. Real Madrid have fallen victim to it. You know, I think Pep manages it very well in terms of what he has. He knows he's got the step down on the subs bench. I think he's got too much quality and he doesn't know where to put them at times or get the balance right because he's dealing with a lot of egos. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I do think that's a good point in the sense that you look at Pep as a comparison, and City have probably 14 good players. Whereas, you know, a few reserves on the bench, you're probably never going to get a minute. But that core is phenomenal. And obviously it's quite flexible to some degree with some of the positioning. But you are right, it's kind of twofold because if we're winning, and this is the point where I disagree with you, Reece, if we're winning, it doesn't matter. And when I say winning, I mean convincingly. Like Palmer, you know, I've gone on about how good he is, whatever, top goals and assists in the league, right? Not playing. If we beat Slovakia 3-0, even I'm not going to complain that Palmer's not on the pitch because we won 3-0 and the cause justifies the means. Means just for whatever, you know the saying. But if we're struggling constantly and you've got one of the best attacking players in the league this season, not on the pitch, it's not good enough. The same even with Watkins. Again, look at his stats. I know we've got Kane, but if we win easily, convincingly, as we should, it's not a problem. But it's when we're not winning and we're struggling and we're not creating chances, then the criticism comes, and it is absolutely justified then.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we've still not lost. And these teams like Slovakia are designed to frustrate you. And that's exactly what we were going to get. We knew what we were going to get. Yes, I thought 2-0 was going to be it, you know, get it done. But we still got it. We still got it over the line, which is important, you know, and it'll be interesting to see how we do against Switzerland because they tore Italy apart. But I do think he has got too much quality. And again, one issue he's got is if he listens to the fans once, he's going to have to listen again and again and again and undermine his authority because the fans don't know everything. They're not on the training pitch. They're not looking at the stats, the data where they can say this player's this one. This, you know, I know this is domestic club level, but everyone criticised Arteta for going for Raya instead of Ramsdale. But he would have looked at the stats. He would have spoken to his goalkeeping coach. He would have looked at the analysis. And let's be honest, the guy has come out with the most clean sheets in the league last season. So he's having to see what he's got on the pitch. For all we know, some of those players are just sitting there not doing anything. I don't think they are, or I really don't think they are, but he's having to go by a lot of analysis and data. And if he listens to some bloke of social media, or Barry in row 5 who's had 12 beers and thinks he can do the job. He can't. So sometimes it is obvious. Yes, I do think Palmer should have a start in the next game because I think he will be effective. But it's at the risk of any other balance in the side. I do think he's got this is where it comes down to. He's got an abundance of riches. And I think it's very hard to draw on that.
I think Southgate's problem is, it's probably something that we've sort of said in the start of the tournament. Our defence doesn't look as good as our attack. So I think he's probably overcompensating it. And this is why I don't think we need these two CDMs, or however you want to call it. Having Rice and a Mainu, it's not Mainu, and Mainu's been switched with Trent, with Gallagher. He's trying that position. Like he said, he can't replace Calvin Phillips. Ridiculous. But it's why do we need that much defensiveness? I don't think we do. And okay, we were poor last night defensively, but we've actually been fine before. But it's like the average position has been on the edge of our box. We should have good defensive record. I think he just needs to actually not fully let loose, but slightly let loose. And this is where you can bring in a Palmer, a Gordon, an Eze, a Bowen, or even, I wouldn't agree with it, but even a Tony or a Watkins as well as a Kane. It can work. He can go that one step further, but I think he's just like, nope, the handbrake's on. It's sort of like your defence wins championships kind of thing. That's the mentality he's got. And that will hinder all of our attacking players. And that's why none of our attacking players have shone in this tournament. Not a single one has actually shone. It's not like, oh, he's doing all right. Why is he not doing right? It's no, all of them are not doing well. So you could change it like he did in the was it Denmark game? He changed all three of the front three. He could do that, but with the tactics being a bit too defensive, they're going to do nothing more apart from having fresh legs. That's why I think they looked okay against Denmark. I think it is Southgate just being a bit too negative for me. So I don't know. That's how I think he needs to improve, really.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind Tony up front to that point, to be honest, because he looked good when he came on. Take out the CDM, put another striker up top. The amount of balls we were trying to get in the box to no one. What Foden and Saka, what they're going to win a flying header? No, like cross it to someone who can actually head the ball. In terms of hopes going forward, obviously look, Bellingham came up clutch. Whether you love him or you hate him, most people love him, but he's done it again. Is there still hope going into the next game based on everything we've said, that if we have these players in the team, we can find a way in those tough moments?
I would say yes, because you can't perform any worse than what you did against Slovakia.
Yeah, true.
Because even if you play the same way, Switzerland have put 3 past us, we still won't actually be playing any worse than what we were against Slovakia. So actually, the only way you can go is up, or you do go out, but you can still play better and go out. So yes, there is hope. Bellingham comes up with clutch goals. That's not my criticism of him. It was more he's been compared to absolute greats of the footballing world. He's not to that level. I don't think he ever will, in my opinion. But for the England tournament, you've got to remember he didn't do anything apart from that goal. But then again, no one else did anything at all anyway. So, but yes, there is hope, because I think every player can perform better. There's not one player that you can go, oh, he performed quite well, he can do the same again. All of them can improve, and we've got the easier side of the draw. Whether we go through the easier side of the draw is up to us. So that's where the hope comes from. Because if we're on the other side, I would generally say no. We're not going to beat a Spain, a Germany. We're not going to beat a France. We're not going to beat a Portugal. Probably won't even. We may draw to Belgium, because they're performing equally as bad. So that's where I think there is some hope, the side of the draw.
Yeah, there's always hope. I think the players are aware that it's not been the best performance, but I don't think it's been underperforming from players. I just think maybe tactically it's been a bit off. A lot of those players wouldn't play that kind of way. there's definitely hope. Like, the Swiss are not the best team in the world. They beat Italy, but Italy have been very, very poor. And like I bring back, it makes you wonder how we didn't go on to win the Euros, bearing in mind they failed to qualify for the last 2 World Cups and scrape through into this tournament. I think he's going to make a bold decision. I personally think I would rest Bellingham in this game. The guy has had injuries for Real
He
Madrid.
just won't though. He won't.
But he has to. The guy has had injuries and he needs to rest. And it's no secret that he's overperformed for Real Madrid, and it's no secret that Valverde has been the driving force. We do not have a Valverde in our midfield. But I was impressed with Gallagher. Maybe try and put Gallagher in midfield. Maybe put Watkins up front or on the wing. I don't know.
Valverde's an engine.
Bellingham. I would
Gallagher
rest
is that engine.
Yeah. I would just rest Bellingham personally, just to give him a rest, and maybe let the team not have to keep looking for him all the time. Simple as that. They don't have to keep giving him the ball. Let the team, and that's not a disrespect to Bellingham. He deserves the rest, for goodness sake. The guy's 21. He could be injured and out, injured for the rest of his career if he carries on playing as much as he does. Maybe just let him have a bit of a break. Maybe try 2 up front or another player in that slot. I don't know, but he can do it. We can do it, and I think we will do it. It's just, again, it's whether the Swiss look at this and go, actually, let's play how the Slovakians did and shut them out, because they've got better quality to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's about all we got time for. We've had our say, and now we want to hear from you. As always, make sure you are following us on every single channel. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.